Hello world, welcome to my channel, Proteus Augustus. I'm an artist, scientist, and American Constitutionist. And today is December 20th, 2023. And Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and whatever faith that you wish to celebrate at this season. But as a Christian man, right, there's more value in it for me. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about the Supreme Court ruling and give my legal opinion on it. Okay? And just give me a few minutes, and I think I could clarify a few things based on my research and my study over the decades. First of all, one thing the citizen has to understand is the difference between a statute, an established privilege, and a constitutional right. Right? The government has no rights. Only citizens have rights. The government is a body of people, citizens, primarily from two private parties, right? That employ themselves and shape the statutory system to benefit outcomes for their party in that region that they live in. And that's how you get gerrymandering and all these other tactics for these political parties to acquire power, right? Now, one of the ways to acquire power is, putting aside, the Soviet tactics that have infected our institutions with these people, right? Another tact is to keep people perpetual juveniles, right? And in order to do that, you don't let them suffer. You don't let them learn from their mistakes. You keep making up excuses why what happened to them was not their fault. Hey, every one of us was born. I'll tell you something. I firmly believe that if I was born in one of these other countries and it was evil, they couldn't make me evil. I would have had to find a way to leave after I, kind of conned my way like I believed what they believed in. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not Jesus. Christ won't exist if we all kill ourselves off. That's why I can't wear the cross. I have to fight for Christ. Right? There's a difference. If there aren't men like me to fight for the Judeo-Christian system that we have, we're going to have nothing, right? And that's what we're seeing now. So a political party that's dominated by finance, financial incentive, in other words, avarice, right? Go back to Benjamin Franklin. He'll tell you a little bit about avarice, right? With respect to political endeavors. Anyways, the difference between a statute also does not mean it's constitutional. There can be a facial attack, in the federal courts for a declaratory judgment while trying to get an injunction to prevent that constitutional violation, right? So a statute can be attacked. A constitutional right, the only attack that a constitutional right has gotten is from the court itself. What they think with their legal education and experience, putting aside acumen, because some of these judges are not students of the law. They're pushers of policy. It's obvious. Nobody talks about what their duty is. They have a duty to recognize certain things. Now, one of those things that I have to recognize is that if Congress wanted to just prevent a certain amount of people from being in the government at that period of time, they could have passed a statute for that. They did not. They did not. So the 14th Amendment application against an insurrectionist from being on the ballot means forever until the 14th Amendment is taken down. Right? That's my view. Right? Because there can be insurrectionists in the future, and they didn't want that to happen. They have to protect the people. They have to protect the people from these political actors. So yes, the 14th Amendment certainly applies to an insurrectionist. The question is, what is insurrection? Is insurrection against one political party over another? Or is insurrection against the populace? I argue insurrection is a political actor against the populace, which all of us are, whether we consider ourselves a citizen of the Republic or just a U.S. citizen with rights that wants to tear everything down. Right? The problem the Supreme Court of Colorado has is Donald Trump and all these other people that have been locked up are political prisoners. Their lawyers should have filed, the guys in prison, their lawyers, if I was in prison, I would have filed the habeas corpus. And I would argue that this is hardly insurrection. At best, I came to a rally and I got tied up in this riotous behavior, right, that may or may not have been started by a political party. I mean, this isn't uncommon. The Tea Party was the same thing. The thing is these Democrats are not believers in the Republic. They're believers in their party. That's why they're paying all of these people fighting at the same time, because they're practicing European politics from like the 1600s to the 1800s. You know, balance of powers. That's why at one time they were friends, next time they were enemies. Just killing all kinds of people based on what their political view was. Right? And that's what makes this country more powerful. But without people that are going to enforce the law as a duty, the Republic is in jeopardy. Now, I haven't read the ruling. I don't have to. I know where they're going with this. Right? The Supreme Court's going to have to step up. These people are pushing, the Supreme Court of Colorado is pushing the Supreme Court of the United States around now. These people, a lot of these Democrats are not believers in the Republic. You have to understand that this political party is not an American political party anymore. It was taken over quite some time ago. I'm not going to give you a whole history on it. I grew up watching these guys in Massachusetts. I know how they do business, right? And it doesn't matter whether you outthink them or not. They're hoods, man. They all are. Just like Bill Bulger and his brother. I mean, that's incredible. One guy's in the Senate and another guy, legislature of the state. Another guy is working with the FBI because he grew up with the guy. right? Taking down the engine, blah, 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 blah. You want to talk about criminals? They don themselves. They cloak themselves. They use propaganda to raise your children to believe they are important. They're not. They have no more importance than any other citizen. The thing is that the reason why stuff is falling apart is their incentive. Right? They're getting paid to argue against the American Republic by other potentates. You have to understand this. These ain't just guys that were born here that believe in the Republic. These are paid assassins, right? And so, not being able to prove that Donald Trump, and by his own words, discouraged any kind of, violence. But the people have a right to speak. I mean, it's totally absurd. So this is really a political party battle again, like it was before the first Civil War. And I'm saying first because, listen, if this keeps going this way, there's only one way to resolve this, and that's number two. These Democrats really believe they can turn the American military against the free man in this country and subjugate us. Biden will march Chi right down the street, right? And the people behind these guys, Chi, Biden, all these guys, right, are just sitting up in their ivory tower looking down at us like we're insects. We're just here for them. They're not Christian people. Even if they're not Christian people, they're not on any spiritual or moral path. They have no moral baseline. We're a scourge, right? And this scourge worked its way into the judicial system. You have to understand that. These people construe, number one, their prosecutorial discretion as absolute. They don't have a duty. They tell you to go screw yourself, man. And if you stand up to them, they'll bring their thugs out for you. That's not a free republic. Citizens have rights, and one of those rights is as a male. And this republic is to be treated with respect as a baseline. When I come up against any other man that talks to me like a boy or a pet, right, that totally just disparages my adulthood and my experience for lasting this long, number one, I know this person is just a nonsense person. You don't talk to the public like that. You don't. You're just looking for trouble. You're just a bully. Anyways, that's what the Supreme Court of Colorado projects to me, right? Whether they actually believe in what they're saying based on case law or not. They're looking like bullies to me, number one, on the Supreme Court of the United States, okay? And number two, on the American public, right? The entire public, right? Without a conviction of insurrection, without a stated goal or plan. And by the way, this is where the Second Amendment, they're going to argue that their political party is the government and that the free man in this country that wants to fight for the republic is the insurrectionist. That's their argument. Without a conviction, right? Of all these guys sitting in prison that weren't convicted of insurrection, they're being abused. This political party has captured the republic, and they're threatening us with force, right? And they're threatening us with our own military, Okay, Biden said so himself. We don't have F-16s. He's telling us he'll fucking squash all of us if he wants. And the military's really going to do that to the public? Does he really believe that? I mean, is it that bad now? I mean, because last I know, 3 or 4 years ago, my sister was one step away from a star. My brother-in-law was a colonel. Right? Now, doesn't matter what I think about them. These are good. These people serve their country. They did we all in my family, we understand duty. Putting aside our own interpersonal problems is irrelevant. We know what duty is, right? At least myself and, everybody served though. I don't want to get into all that. Right? I don't think they're actually gonna try to take me out. Right? My brother-in-law is gonna be in the street, spying on me, trying to counteract what I'm doing. I don't see that happening. Right? So there'll be a civil war in the military first, and that's what the communists want. That's what these people in Colorado want. Right? And that's why the West Coast is all being run by communists now. Because on the other side of the Pacific Ocean is communist China, the CCP. They send a lot of people over here, man. They send a lot of money over here, and they use the Soviet tactic. They find useful idiots, like the guy that's running California now. He got a pretty face, and people vote for pretty faces. It's just a fact, right? His symmetry or whatever. They're attracted to that. But you know what? He couldn't keep his woman, could he? And Trump's boy is, you're the sucker, man. No, I'm not saying anything, but I'm just gonna jab your ass because you're a communist. You're a communist. You're not a believer in the republic. You're the insurrectionist. If Donald Trump is an insurrectionist, Biden is definitely a traitor. Look at what's happening. He's arming a bunch of foreign people in our own country. He's trying to take this country down. Don't buy all this old guy, I'm crazy shit. He got enough going on up there. Plus his son is treasonous also. His son was a foreign agent for the CCP, right? And for Ukraine. We shouldn't be fighting Russia, man. Russia wanted to do business with us, right? Right? And the king and these other nonsense people over there just can't get over that. And we beat the Soviets, right? He might have been a Soviet, right? I fought under Reagan, right? In the early 80s. I mean, so what? He wanted to be more part of Western Europe, which he should be, because they have a Judeo-Christian history also. Putting aside, everybody was barbarians and shit before Christianity, opened up the souls and minds of men, and that played the difference. And that's one thing the Russian people have. Right, is their Christian beliefs and their heritage. These guys in China don't have any of that. Their entire evolutionary history, of monarchies and political armies and whatnot, is all about oppression and killing. There's no higher thought in it. That's why they grasped onto communism. That's why Mao went for it. Because it's just another way for a certain group of people to dominate the masses. And that's why they kill a lot of people also. They can't have smart people around. This is why the people I'm fighting are always trying to come up for some esoteric reason why I'm somebody I'm not. Will I defend myself? Yes, I'm going to do it. And these courts have a duty. That's all. There's FICP, right? And that's what, the Supreme Court of Colorado is doing. So the Supreme Court of the United States must come down against that, because they can give them, I would give them that a constitutional amendment is forever. It's not, it wasn't written for a certain period of time. That certain period of time initiated that section, because we can't have insurrectionists, right? And that's what we're experiencing now. The communists, these people are trying to con their way into coming up with some kind of argument to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. And he never was convicted of insurrection. Plus, as the president, he has immunity to address the public. And nobody talks about that. He has the bully pulpit as long as he's the president, right? Above everybody else. He can't be prosecuted for what he says, no more than a congressman or senator that can be prosecuted for what they say in legislature, because it's about argument. That's the whole core meaning behind these bodies and the executive. The executive has to be able to make decisions. He never said to go over there and take over the Capitol, but he has the right to challenge the election. Every citizen does. I do. I think the election was stolen. I see him do it in Massachusetts. Listen, that's why I'm so confident in my positions, right? Because I put the effort in, right? And I watch some of these people, right? They're just, anyway. So Donald Trump has to be on the ballot. The Supreme Court of Colorado would have to prove that Donald Trump was in fact convicted of insurrection in a court of law, right? That he actually encouraged a riot and disorderly conduct. Excuse me, disorderly conduct, right? What that means is causing a riotous behavior, right? So if you incite people to riotous behavior, right, that's disorderly conduct. That's not insurrection. Number one, that's the First Circuit, federal, right? Anyways, so Donald Trump can't be convicted of insurrection even if he stood at the podium and told him to go riot the Capitol. Right? Now, disturbing a proceeding, right? Again, that's not insurrection. Insurrection is taking arms up against the people. So if the commies and the Democrats decide to arm all of these dudes, and that's where they're starting. That's how the communists do it. That's how the Nazis do it. They let the psychos in the street. They close down the institutions. They flood the streets with crazy people. They cause all this conflict, all this fear, all this death, right? And so, that's their first tactic. The second tactic is to tell the free man, you ain't free, right? Well, that don't work in America because we got a Bill of Rights, right? So it's a very long process for them, right? And, it's getting a little long. But my whole point is they are the insurrectionists. If they decide to bring war to this country, which Biden has decided to do, all these guys coming here ain't somebody's brother or somebody's son or uncle or something, where they have a nice place to go, and even if they did, they're putting a load on the American public. They're devaluing our standard of living. And that's, again, the whole point. These globalists want us to share in these other people's pain. They think somehow that we're not responsible. We're responsible for the society we created. And we have a right to turn over the population gradually the way we see fit as a populace, not as a political party wants. But these political parties are so dominated our landscape. And hey, I've been beat down. I learned the law because, listen, if I'm smarter than these guys, they can't stop me. If the courts do their duty, right? And there's no interpretation of the law when I go to court. I mean, really, everything I'm arguing is, we got a few hundred years of case law here. This isn't a mystery. Human beings have been doing this for a while now, right? And that's another con job on the public is these jurists that make it seem like they have power they don't have. Like they can just, well, because I have a right to an opinion, I can say whatever the hell they want and waste everybody's money and time and never get punished for it. It's really a crime, in my opinion. Right? They don't just get to make up something that's not in the law. If it's not a constitutional right, it's not a constitutional right. They don't get to then create one. Right? And that's what the government does also when it comes to the Second Amendment. They create a right for themselves as a body, as a political party in power, right? To take guns out of hands like myself, right? Forever. A right away just because they live in fear every day, right? These people, a lot of these people don't even have any common sense. I mean, if I was a judge, I'd have my firearm right there. Anybody fuck with me, I'd drop him right there. I'd drop fucking right there if I had to. But I got guys right there to do it. And that's why this thing over at the federal court here is ridiculous. They got all kinds of men there to take care of business. If somebody's overdoing their stay in the library, it's not being productive, is one thing. If they're being disruptive, it's another. That's why those guys are there. They shouldn't have to test every citizen that comes in the building that wants to use a resource. When they do that, what they're showing is their disdain for the public and how they believe they're more important than everybody else. And that's a wrong posture to take. It's just wrong. Right? And that's what sometimes really gets under my skin. Right? Is that these people are privileged to have those jobs, but they believe they have a right to it. And the building is theirs. Right? Listen, I've been in plenty of federal buildings, man. I've been in all kinds of libraries. I've been in Library of Congress. I take care of business, right? They got people there. They didn't stop me from going in there. Right? They don't question what my history is and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous. Listen, not everybody's out to get you, right? We got business to take care of. And I got business to take care of with federal people. Right? So I expect a duty. And the Supreme Court has a duty also to slap the state of Colorado back and tell them, listen, you don't even have a conviction. We're not here to entertain your legal theory. We're not here to entertain your political desire. I don't know what would you call it? Their political uh, aspirations, what they want for their political party, and that's a single party. The Supreme Court ain't there to have a legal discussion with these people, right? Especially even with these firearm laws. These lower judges keep playing games. I'm going for a summary judgment on mine, right? You don't even have to look into the thing, right? But hey, we could do that. I got the tapes, the cassette tapes. I transcribed them all. You want to see a fantasy, right? I'll show you a fantasy, man. Right? I learned from these people in Massachusetts, man. They're criminals. That's all there is to it. So, anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been half hour almost. So, yes, I do believe there is a legal theory that the 14th Amendment is forever. And if you're convicted of insurrection, and that is, if you take up arms against the people, right? Like if you're a Biden and you take the army and you attack us with it, you're the insurrectionist, not the people. The people are the government, not you. Your political party isn't the government. We are. So when you use the force or threat of force against us, you are the insurrectionist because you're actually using force and you're using arms against us. That's why we have number two, and that's what it actually means. Political parties cannot use force against the American public like that without causing a civil war, right? But Donald Trump did not pick up arms. Neither did those old ladies and them young guys and them veterans, right? They didn't deserve the treatment they got, right? So that's where we're at. And the Supreme Court has better things to do than to get into a legal argument on theory with these knuckleheads in Colorado. I think, listen, I'm glad I'm not there. It took me 3 years to get 2 years, 2.5. After 6 months, I knew I had to get out of there, but I was trapped. The altitude, I'm building my blood mass back up. Maybe that's a problem. When you got a high octane machine like my brain, I gotta have a lot of blood cells going up there and start pumping you. I feel so much better down here. It's only 1,000 feet lower, right? You know what I'm doing now is I'm measuring my blood mass, right, versus altitude, right? Maybe at sea level it's not the perfect amount of oxygen, right? But I feel so much better now. Until next time, think free, be free, and most importantly, eat free.